I want to tell you a story about the founding of America that you may not have heard before. The year was 1776. The day was Christmas Day, and snow and ice, just gross weather, was falling from the sky. So General Washington was planning an attack the next day, and a Loyalist spy heard about it. The Loyalist spy wrote the plans on a note, and quickly rode to the opposing colonel's house. He gave the opposing colonel the note, which said General Washington's going to attack at dawn, be prepared. And the opposing colonel, who was deeply into playing a chess game at that time, took the note, put it still folded into his pocket. His name was Colonel Rahl, R-A-H-L, and there it stayed. There it stayed right in his pocket. So Colonel Rahl had potential forewarning, of an attack on his army at dawn. And instead he chose to just keep playing chess. He was so focused on playing chess that he ignored the warning. So what happened? General Washington and his army, through the night, Christmas night, they crossed the Delaware River. 5 men freeze to death. It's horrible. But they do it. They push forward. They get, I forget the town, but they get to their objective town at dawn. They attack the army at 8 a.m. They attack. 40 members of the opposing army are killed, and 1,000 of them are captured. And you know what? Colonel Rahl was found. He was one of those 40, and he was found dead on the battlefield with that note of warning still tucked into his uniform pocket. So how does that relate to this current situation about MMTLP? Well, I see the hedge funds being the Colonel Rahl of this story. They were given a note months, years before about the impending attack, and they were busy playing chess. And they took that note and they put it in their pocket, and there it stayed, all folded up. So why did General Washington's army win? If we distill down, if we say, okay, the opposing side was distracted by their successes or some other distraction, why did General Washington's army win? I present that General Washington's army won because, of course, they took the element of surprise. They used the element of surprise to their advantage, which was great. You know, that's part of winning sometimes. But if you distill it down, General Washington's army believed that they were going to win. Why else would they have charged across a frigid Delaware River in the middle of winter? What else would motivate a group of people to take action at such great personal sacrifice in order that they might achieve their dream? They had to have believed before they even began crossing that river that they were going to win. They knew that they were going to win. I present that they already had in their mind played out the scenario, the steps that it would take to win, and they were willing to make those personal sacrifices in order to see what they had already envisioned actually play out in reality. And I've noticed this pattern throughout history that whenever a group of people get together and they have a shared vision or belief, that is when real change occurs. And so I want to present a challenge of sorts. I don't know if I'd call it a request, but a suggestion. We'll go with that. there is an attorney in Florida, Rosa Tawil, who is working on a temporary restraining order, TRO, for making FINRA act, making FINRA open the market back up so that MMTLP shareholders can actually realize true market value for their shares and not some negotiated sort of subpar value or suboptimal value. So here's what I would propose that folks may consider. Now, I know this whole thing has been very difficult for certain individuals. Some individuals have more flexibility in their liquidity than others. But what I would propose is, if able, if you're willing, visualize from start to finish, Rosa's succeeding, talking with the judge, him hearing her argument, succeeding, having that percolate up to FINRA, having them then have to act, opening the market, and retail investors making actual change through making the opposing party pay because they had the note in their pocket. They could have covered these shares months or years ago. They knew they had the letter. They had it, and they had it in their pocket. And they simply chose to ignore it. It's an uncanny repeat of a party who has power, but just simply expects to continue having power, even when the threat to that power is handed to them on a note that they choose to ignore. So if you're able to visualize basically how you want this to play out, I think there is power in individuals having a shared belief in how a specific process is going to go. In corporations, maybe they call it ethics, these sort of things where they have shared belief systems. But I would encourage individuals to, and maybe that isn't how you see this playing out. Maybe what you see is some sort of other positive outcome, and that's okay. But what I would sort of challenge you to do is put that in your belief system and play it out step by step by step by step until you reach the finality of it. And now believe that it is true. You don't accept anything else except that reality. I've done, I poke my head into a lot of different rabbit holes, I guess you could say. And one thing I've learned about reality is that it seems as though it kind of fans out in different timelines. There may be a timeline where the hedge funds win here. There may be a timeline where the hedge funds sort of win and keep on propagating their failure to deliver activities. There may be a timeline where the hedge funds get some of them lose, but some of them continue the failure to deliver activities. And then there may be a timeline where the hedge funds never get to do this again, and it's completely changed. It completely changes the whole trajectory of wealth accumulation, home ownership for our kids and grandkids. Basically, it brings equality back to America and hopefully around the world too. And if the Washington story with Colonel Rahl, if you kind of look at that, what if Colonel Rahl had read the note? There may not be an America, because George Washington might have been wiped out. This is a big deal. I can't think of a better analogy. We are at a Colonel Rahl moment where he didn't read the note. He could have, and that would have changed the course of history. but he chose not to. And I see a group of, we'll call it 70, 80,000 people who want change, who own shares of this MMTLP. And they're ready to cross the Delaware River. You know, I don't think any of us are going to die in the process, thankfully, you know, but they are ready to cross the Delaware. It's time. And they're going to hit those hedge funds at dawn. So, you know, if you can, envision a reality where you win, where all these 70, 80,000 people win. And because you won, your kids and your grandkids will win. I know that seems a little bit hyperbolic, but naked shorting, failure to deliver activities, it just extracts wealth from the market. You know that, I know that. And over time, it's destructive, right? So it needs to stop. So in a way, you know, whereas the American settlers came over because they were fighting oppression, because they couldn't believe what they wanted to believe, and maybe the taxation was oppressive. This is a very, very similar situation. You can think of the naked short hedge funds as tax entities. They're a silent tax on Americans' wealth and wealth around the world, really. Okay, so I ask you to pick a reality where wealth is more equal, where naked short selling or counterfeiting of shares is not allowed, not accepted in any capacity. I think it could be true, and I hope that you also accept that it can be true. There was a guy in a Twitter space, and I'll end with this because I know it's getting long, so I apologize for that. I'm passionate about this topic. There was a guy in a Twitter space earlier today that I was listening in on, and he said, "I don't believe that we're going to win this," and that made me think, that's the problem. The problem isn't we're not going to win this. The problem isn't change won't occur. The problem is you don't believe that it will occur. And if you don't believe that it will occur, how are you ever going to cross the Delaware River? Thanks for listening. As always, you are loved, you are appreciated, and I hope your future is better for yourself and your grandkids and your kids. Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.